What brings you here?
There we go. Well, where does it all start?
Yeah, I know, right?
um, but yeah, no, I mean, so Terry, we had a session. Must have been honestly a couple of years ago now.
Yeah,
A long time ago, and I've
yeah,
been into non-dual stuff since then and before
yep,
then.
yep,
Um, and I work as a counsellor myself, so I suppose I'm in like the mental health, but more in like a psychology type of
yeah,
realm.
yeah,
But I think, yeah, just for the last few months, I wanted to sort of start up sessions again, really. And I think almost feel like I've reached a plateau with like spiritual stuff. Um,
okay.
and yeah, and I was being drawn to your videos again, so just thought it could be, yeah, it could be good to have a few sessions. And I
Yeah,
think I almost am at the stage where a classic where it feels intellectually I can get some concepts, but then in terms of really hearing it, I think occasionally I just get a bit stuck with the idea of there's definitely a me here, um,
yeah,
and
yeah.
even even when I watched which sort of sparked it is your video on like the bubble exercise,
Yeah, yeah,
and I think a year ago was into Douglas Harding's who's the Headless Way, which is that sort of more experiential stuff. And I
yeah.
think that's been the almost the trouble recently, is I feel it still feels like I'm so in this body, and the idea of anything other than that seems so foreign. Um, Even though occasionally I'll get moments where my thinking dies down and I feel really peaceful, but I think
Yeah.
it's almost the idea that I'm not the body that's what's been plaguing me a bit.
Well,
um but yeah.
yeah. It's. I think, honestly, I think it's
Mm.
easier. Believe it or not,
Mm.
I think it's easier to come to see that you're not the thinker,
Mhm.
the thoughts just happen, right? Than
Mhm.
it is that you're not the body.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and I know that even from my own experience, and
Mhm.
also working with a lot of people over the last 5 6 years,
Mhm.
um, working with a lot of people, where
Mhm.
I generally find we all get stuck
Mhm.
is with this belief I am in this body,
Mhm.
and this is my body, and I'm
Mhm.
conscious and I'm aware, and I can see, hear, taste, touch, smell, and I can certainly feel.
Mhm.
that's the
Mhm.
that's the narrative, yeah,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
that goes on, and it can be, if you're not guided, correctly there, it can it can be really difficult.
Mhm.
It can. There's
Mhm.
no ifs or buts about it. It was for me. It was difficult, Um, and funnily enough, I don't know if you would say the same thing,
Mhm.
but funnily enough, I thought that I'd already dealt with I'm not the body.
Mhm.
I already thought I'd dealt with
Yeah.
that. Like,
Yeah.
kind of went through a few logical facts and some reasoning and went,
Mhm.
yeah, clearly I'm not the body, right?
Mhm.
But it
Mhm.
just made sense but really the reality was it just made sense to me intellectually that I'm not the body. But it wasn't an
Yeah.
actual experience that I'm not the
Mhm.
body. Do you understand?
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I
so
think definitely similar for, or I had like
yeah,
it felt like a glimpse, and I was like, oh yeah, that's obvious. And then, but suddenly it was almost like then I was hijacked by, yeah, well, it was me in this body that had that glimpse of that. And
yeah,
it's funny how suddenly
yeah,
it can turn again.
yeah, and I don't want to frighten you. I don't want to
Mm.
scare you, but I'm just sharing with you honestly. Yeah.
Mhm.
I got stuck there with the body idea
Mhm.
for a couple of decades.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not saying at all, please don't interpret it as I'm saying that that's what has to happen for you. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. Yeah. But I was trying to figure it out on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to, work through it on my own, and I,
Mm-hmm.
I kept, if you've watched a few of my videos, you might have heard me say,
Mm-hmm.
I kept asking myself the same thing. How is it I can have such a profound understanding of this teaching, and yet in the final analysis, it still damn well feels like Terrence is here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what the fuck do I do with that? What do I
Mm-hmm.
do with that? Because I intellectually, I got it. Like, it all made perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that didn't make sense. Yet,
Mm-hmm.
it was like I wasn't having this breakthrough.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't, still damn well felt like Terry's still here. It did,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and I didn't know what to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like for a very, very, very long time, I didn't know what to do with that,
Mm-hmm.
And then, it eventually, for me, it eventually dawned on me that, there was a word in that statement that I kept using, and the word was feels. And I kept missing that word and the relevance and the importance of that word. How is it I can have such a profound understanding of this teaching, yet in the final analysis, it still feels like Terrence is here.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like Terrence is here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first time I heard myself use that word. Bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm.
I heard myself go feels, and I went, feels? The Terrence character can't feel. It's a character. It's a mind construct. So this idea of this being a Terrence that can feel is absurd. And I just saw it like, that was my breakthrough. In that moment, I just saw that. I just went, feels? Terrence can't feel. Terrence can't feel. Terrence can't feel. Then what the fuck is this that's going on? What's this? And that was the breakthrough. It was just, oh, yeah. But there can be some other things that we need to clear up even before you can get to that point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We need to make sure that it's clean, that it's clear, that what you're operating from or with is the truth, not an assumption, not a belief, just the bare bones facts, the truth. Yeah.
I think as you're saying that, it probably it almost does feel clouded. Maybe that in itself, the fact that I'm not the body, there's probably so many beliefs that I'm also working with that even if it's a tiny glimpse, that suddenly it's like, and it's all of the conditioning comes back, and then it seems like so far away.
Yeah. Like, let me just start with this with you, yeah? And I've already given you a big tip. Yeah. Can Jack feel? And the answer is?
I mean, I know the answer should be no.
Okay, that's okay. But let's
But I
just,
think,
let's for argument's sake say it's yes. Just for argument's sake, yeah? Go, all right. Can you feel Jack? Just sit with that for a second.
I was sort of working this recently in terms of even when I get sensations, let's say sensations in the body, but then it's always like my mind will immediately go to, oh, that's a feeling, or that's this, or but actually it's like I feel or something feels sensations, and then it makes up a story, and that becomes the feeling. So recently I've been almost trying to pick it up
Yeah.
earlier and be like, before I go down a almost like a train of thought and think actually,
All
or
right.
was aside from just a sensation in space, what was that?
Yeah. So what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to nip that story
Yeah,
rather, in the bud.
yeah,
Nip
yeah,
that story in the bud. So
yeah.
let's look at that, yeah?
Hmm.
And let's look at it carefully and
Hmm.
honestly. Honestly. So there's no right or wrong answer.
Hmm.
He's just looking at it honestly. Okay.
Hmm.
So let's ask the question again. Can Jack feel?
No, the character can't feel.
Yeah, but you do realize that Jack is the character, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think again, I get that intellectually, but suddenly it just hijacks and it's like,
I'm
oh
with
yeah,
you. I'm with you. Good,
and I'll
good,
suddenly
good.
go to, oh yeah, well, of course, it's still like you're talking to me as
Yeah,
Jack, sort of
I
sitting here,
know, I know, and that's this that's the trick, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, so let's just do it again. Yeah?
Hmm.
Okay. Can Jack feel? And the answer is
The answer is no.
good. Just stay with
Hmm.
that. Nothing more, right?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good. So
yeah.
the answer is no. All right. So the next question. Can you feel Jack? They're two very different questions.
Yeah,
Just sit with that for a second. Don't be in a hurry. Don't be in a hurry.
yeah, because that is,
Because the first question was, can Jack feel? And
mm,
somehow you know that the
mm,
answer is no. Right?
mm.
You know. Okay. All right. Okay. So then the next question is, can you feel Jack?
Mm. And I'm more likely to say yes to that one,
Good. Interesting. Good, good, good. So
as if there's,
good,
yeah,
good.
sorry,
That's
yeah,
okay.
okay,
That's okay. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So let's look at that. Yeah. Let's go
Hmm.
back to the first question. Yeah. Can
Hmm.
Jack feel?
Hmm. It's easy to say no to that one now. I think
All right.
in terms
Okay.
of
So
that's just
now,
like
now,
a.
okay. Okay. All right. So let's look at that. Yeah.
Mhm,
If Jack can't feel, yeah, I want you to ponder this.
mhm,
If Jack can't feel, what would Jack feel like? Because you said yes to,
mm,
can you feel a Jack? You said
mhm,
yes to that.
mhm,
Now, what I want to know is, because you've said yes, what
mhm,
is it about Jack that you would be feeling if Jack can't feel?
mm, mm.
Just
Then
sit there with
I
that for a second. Sit. I want to make sure you get this.
mm,
You need to get this. It's important.
mhm.
Because the real answer
Is-
to both those questions is no, no.
mhm, mhm,
Yeah, but your answer's
mhm.
kind of, you said, well, I know the answer's no to the first one, so you're not convinced, right?
Yeah,
But I know the
yeah,
answer's no. And then
yeah.
the second question, you go, yes.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, the
if
second one
I want you
seems
to,
it's
I
almost
know,
like
but
because that there's it's like a it's almost like I can feel a sense of Jack. Or
I
when I
understand.
said before that those say like bodily sensations or that's what I've probably mislabeled as Jack.
Yeah. And if Jack can't feel, what would Jack feel like?
Mm. Is that, I mean, immediately I want to say I don't know, and that would
That's
in
okay.
itself
But
I suppose prove that Like, what, if I don't
It's
know,
okay.
how can there possibly be?
It's okay, but can you see even just logically, if you can, for a
Mm,
moment, yeah?
mm,
If Jack can't feel, how could you feel a Jack?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Just sit with that just for a
mm-hmm,
minute.
mm-hmm,
I want you to fully understand the relevance of that.
mm-hmm.
If Jack can't feel, what would Jack feel like? You've said
Immediately,
you,
it just comes up with nothing.
well, you've said you feel a Jack,
Mm, mm,
but if Jack can't feel, what would Jack feel
mm-hmm,
like?
mm-hmm.
If Jack can't feel, what would Jack feel like?
And I suppose he
Be sure.
couldn't experience. Yeah,
Be sure. Yeah, you're like, be sure.
yeah, yeah. That's what it seems that he couldn't. If Jack couldn't feel, then it's impossible to know what that would feel like.
Jack can't feel,
Mm,
right? How do you feel a Jack?
mm-hmm. You
What
can't.
would what would it what would the feeling of a Jack be like that couldn't feel? Tell me that.
Mm,
Tell me that. What would the feeling of a Jack be like if Jack couldn't feel?
seemed like it wouldn't exist.
Hello.
It's sort of like saying if you don't feel anything, then or if I couldn't feel anything, then there would be nothing to feel. Like it wouldn't. It'd be impossible.
Good,
I
good,
suppose.
good, good, good. Now, let me ask you a really obvious question. Yeah.
Mhm.
Are you feeling right now?
Yeah,
Good. Then that can't
yeah.
be Jack.
No. So it's like something's feeling.
Well, yeah, you're not the Jack.
Or nothing.
So that would be feeling could only be you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying that you is a thing or it has a location or, but there's an actual experience happening there. Yes,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that I couldn't. It'd be
can't
impossible
deny that.
to deny. No, exactly.
Can't deny that. Yeah,
No.
but the mistake that we've made our whole life is assuming that this that's having this experience, this that's having this feeling, is Jack.
Mm-hmm.
Jack can't
Mm-hmm.
feel.
Mm-hmm.
Jack can't feel.
Mm-hmm.
Jack can't see, hear, taste, touch, or smell. Jack is not conscious, is not aware, and is not being.
Mm-hmm.
Now tell me why that's the case.
Because always say earlier, but if I'm aware of that, then it can't be a Jack. Because you say if I'm aware of a sense of that character, then how could it possibly be me as well? It's almost like
Or is there let's look at that. Yeah. Is there a sense
Mm-hmm.
of Jack?
Again, I'd say my mind just goes or just tries to then go to sensations in the body,
Yeah,
which
yeah, but sure. But the mind is labeling it a sense of
yeah,
Jack.
yeah.
Now is good. Now
Well,
is that true?
well, no, I suppose that's without the label of a sense of Jack, then it's just arising somewhere. But yeah.
See, what I'm trying to do with you is I'm not trying to dispel or remove this experience that's being had here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to remove that. What I'm trying to get you to see is that this experience that's being had here, call it being conscious, call it being aware, call it
Mm-hmm.
being, call it seeing, hearing, tasting,
Mm-hmm.
touching, smelling it, call it all those things. It's just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This experience that's being had here is not being had by a Jack.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for you to know whether or not that's true or false, you'd need to be able to articulate to me what's Jack.
Mm. I think that would be probably quite tough to do.
Do you think?
I again, if I say just Jack,
What's Jack?
I'd go. I mean, I'm sure I'd say my background or stories or etc., and then maybe say this and point to the body. But again, I feel like if I tried to locate him, I'd struggle, and it's almost I it almost feels like I'd regurgitate what other people have said.
Yeah, and let's not do that. I'm
Yeah,
glad you said
do you know
that.
what I
I'm
mean?
so glad
Yeah,
you said that. Yeah. Let's not
yeah,
do that. Let's just talk from our direct experience now. Yeah.
yeah,
Not from what we think we know. That's fucked.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Really.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So okay. Have you do you remember my amnesia pointer?
I roughly, I might have watched a video a while ago. So
That's okay.
if yeah,
Let's just have a look at it. Yeah. Because
yeah,
it might shed some light on what it is I'm trying to say. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Okay. So you understand the concept or the principle of amnesia?
Yeah, sort of you can't remember stuff or anything.
You can't remember your own personal past.
Yeah,
You would still know that's a laptop in front of you.
mm-hmm.
You would still know that's a ceiling. You would still know
Mm-hmm.
that's a phone. You would still know, but
Mm-hmm.
your own personal backstory gets wiped. That's
Mm-hmm.
amnesia. Yeah. You don't know your
Mm-hmm.
name, don't know your
Mm-hmm.
parents, don't know if you're married, not married, got kids, haven't got kids, don't know what you've ever done for a living, don't know what country
Mm-hmm.
you're born into. Your own personal backstory gets wiped. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, here's the question. If that were to happen to you right now,
Mm-hmm.
who'd be sitting there now?
Like I said, I don't know.
Interesting. That is sitting there,
Mm.
is it dependent
Mm.
on the backstory?
No, because I suppose in like a real dualistic way, if the backstory went, then there might be you might assume that what's sitting here would die or disappear or but it's
Would it?
no.
Right.
It'd
So
very
good,
much be here.
good. Yeah. So what we've effectively done, we've just removed the backstory, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And in removing the backstory, Jack disappears.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand that?
Mm.
Look at me, yeah, right? Just
Mm.
imagine, right? If we remove my backstory,
Mm-hmm.
completely just remove my backstory, do you understand that I wouldn't know who was sitting here?
Mm. Mm.
You understand that, right?
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. But there'd still be
Yeah.
something sitting here.
Yeah.
True?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
There'd
True.
still good. There'd still be something feeling, wouldn't there?
Mm. Mm.
Seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, wouldn't there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Consciousness and awareness would still be here, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Is the consciousness, the awareness, the seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, is it owned by Jack?
No, it can't be. Or if it was, then when the story goes, I wouldn't be here, or you wouldn't be there if it was your story, or it went,
Good.
it disappeared.
Good. All right. So let's look at it. Yeah. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Because ordinarily, I want you to look at this, yeah, with me. Yeah. Ordinarily, you would say, "Hi, I'm Jack, and I'm feeling, I don't know, a little sad today."
Mm-hmm.
So I'm making it up, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jack. I'm feeling a little. I'm me. I am me, Jack.
Mm.
Yeah, am feeling a little
Mm-hmm.
sad today. That's what we would
Mm-hmm.
ordinarily say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if we can remove Jack, now who or what is experiencing a feeling?
Well, I suppose nothing physical.
What I'm trying to get you to see, the most important
Mm.
thing I'm trying to get you to see
Mm.
here is the
It wouldn't be.
illusion, the phantom Jack.
Yeah, yeah. No, it wouldn't be Jack. That's. If you remove that, then there'd still be the feelings, the awareness, but
Good,
it
good,
definitely
good,
wouldn't
good.
be Jack that's
Great,
experiencing it.
great. Now here's my question.
Mm.
I've led you down a
Yeah.
garden path, right? Now here's my question. What's Jack?
Mm. Oh, but I mean, I just go to just a story,
Good,
just a story that is
good,
built up over time.
good.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it does
Good,
for
good,
sure.
good. All right. Now, does this make sense? Who and what I am is a story. Think about this. Who and what I am is a story. This that is alive here, this that is conscious and aware here, what this is a story. Does that make sense to you?
No,
Good, it shouldn't.
because that would be like, I mean, if you it'd always be like me pointing to a or taking like a book in the room and then saying what I am. That's almost how I
Yeah,
view that. Is it's just a collection
good,
of
good,
words.
good, great, good,
Mm.
good.
Mm.
So let's be clear, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
What's Jack?
Just
Remember, yeah,
just
go on, yeah, go on. Go on.
I know I was purely that is again just a collection of stories is how is
Good. What are the stories
yeah
made up of? Good. What are the stories made up of?
just thoughts.
Good. What are thoughts made up of? Good, good. Come on. What are thoughts made up of? Go in the same direction.
Other thoughts.
Yeah. What are the other thoughts made up of? Get tighter. Get more focused.
Mm, mm. Um,
What's a sentence made up of?
just words. I
Hello.
suppose.
Hello.
Yeah,
Stay there. Yeah.
yeah.
What's a thought made up of?
Just words.
Good. Do you understand that?
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Now, what's Jack?
I suppose then you go with title and just say a collection of words.
Good. 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 Okay. Which word specifically is Jack?
None of them. I suppose there. Got to be none of them.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Let's look at that.
Yeah.
Can you give me one word in the whole universe out of all the possible words that you could possibly find in all the dictionaries? Just give me one word that stands independent from all other words and means something. Don't be in a hurry.
It's
Find one word that can stand alone by itself, that is not dependent on other words, and that word stands alone by itself and means something.
I think I struggle to find one. I mean, I immediately go if I try to, I immediately go selfish and like me or I or something like that. But even that
Let's for
it's
argument's sake say you said me.
yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
said, oh, that's interesting. What does that mean? Me. Then what are you going to do? What
And then
naturally
I'd struggle.
happens? No, then you come up with other words.
Yeah, and then I go to the story and
Well,
more
yeah,
words, more words.
but the point is that word me can't stand alone by itself and mean something. For it to mean something, you've got to attach other words to it. So the word me itself by itself doesn't mean anything. Now, have another look.
Yeah.
Be sure, yeah? Is there
Yeah,
one
no,
word? Is there one word that you can find that stands alone by itself, not dependent on any other words, that can actually mean something?
I mean that in order to make meaning of any of them, you have to then rope in about 100 more, and even then it's
Good.
yeah, that makes sense.
Good.
That makes sense.
Good. I'm trying to show you how thoughts work.
Mm.
Language, but thought, because all your thoughts are in your own mother tongue, right? Your language.
Yeah.
You don't have thoughts in Chinese, right?
No.
Right?
Yeah.
And all the thoughts that you have are all based on the language that you learnt as a child. Somewhere around the age 2, we start to speak, start to learn words, yeah? And then we start to learn that that word actually means something. But to extrapolate out on what that word means when we're 2, right? Yeah, we have to learn other words to then be able to give a description of what that first word is that we've learnt means. Do you understand? And then out it goes.
Yeah.
Good, good. And whilst that process is happening, guess what's happening in here? Thoughts are being created.
Yeah.
Words are being strung together.
Yeah.
Sentences start to come together. Paragraphs start to come together. Yeah. Big
Yeah.
stories start to come together. And then by the time you get to this age, yeah, it's a big, huge story that's
built up.
That's built up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, it's like an infinite loop with the mind and the storytelling. Yeah. Because one thought is only backed up by another thought. It's not backed up by you.
No.
It's just backed up by another thought. For example,
Yeah.
I'm feeling sad today. There's a thought, right? I'm feeling sad today. Here comes another thought. I'm not quite sure why. I don't know why I feel sad today. It's just another thought, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here comes another
Yeah.
thought. Maybe I need to get outside and go for a walk. There's
Mm-hmm.
another thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to sit and meditate and work out, get to the core of this and work out why I'm feeling sad today. And that would too be just another thought, right?
Yeah.
Good. And all those thoughts would just be happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because at any point there, whilst those thoughts were going off, at any point there, if I asked you, stop thinking, stop it, cease to think, what you discover is you can't. So those thoughts are just going to happen anyway. They're just going to fire off. All thoughts just keep firing off and firing off and firing off. And it's happening spontaneously, and it's not being done by Jack. Jack is the thoughts. And then there's other thoughts about the thoughts of Jack, and other thoughts about that, and other thoughts about that. And it's just a big, do you understand? This would sort of come back to the bubble exercise a bit, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when people say that you're this space within the thoughts, or it's almost, I know it's still more language, but it's almost like I haven't really considered it before, that it is so automatic. And then even recently, I'll be doing something, or like speaking to a friend, and like my thoughts will die down completely, and then suddenly another thought will pop up along the lines of, well, I don't actually need thoughts at all to operate in, which is, I don't know, I feel like it's always the sort of thing where for the last 25 years, it's felt like, it's so necessary to have all of this thinking so that I can go about my life. Whereas recently, I've sort of almost caught myself like, actually, there's not actually that many thoughts going on, and I can still, I can still walk, and I can still talk, and it's not.
Yeah.
Which I suppose is similar in terms of, if all of those thoughts did disappear, even for a moment, the sense of this would still be there, and the sense of being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now look, yeah, just on
Yeah.
that, yeah, right on that, yeah. Everyone's on this non-dual path, right? Open to awaken. True?
Yeah.
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 So if that waking were to happen, where would you have to be?
Immediately I go to outside of myself. Weirdly, it's almost like if I'm if this is technically asleep, then I feel like I'd have to be outside of myself, and then suddenly
Let's look at it. Let's look at it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the question is, if waking was going to occur, where would you have to be? Was the question. Yeah. So let's look at that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Watch me for a sec. Yeah. Would you have to be over there?
No.
What about over there?
No.
What about back there?
No.
Under there? I'm pointing
No.
under a table, right? Under the table? Yeah. Where do you
No.
think you'd have to be?
Well, I suppose right here.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've been studying this long enough, yeah?
Yeah.
You've heard people talk about beingness,
Yeah.
here-ness, now-ness, consciousness, awareness, just this here-ness,
Yeah.
this now-ness, here, yeah? Just here. But the direct experience of just being here, not here and caught up in the mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're half asleep when that happens, you understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, this is happening. Oh,
Yeah.
this is happening. Oh, now it's swinging back over. Oh.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, sometimes I used to have a silly little saying that, you know, if God comes knocking, you better be home.
Yeah.
You better be there to answer the
Yeah.
door. Do
Yeah.
you understand? Okay.
Yeah.
If awakening is going to occur, you better be present,
Mm-hmm.
because that's where it happens.
Mm-hmm. Nowhere
Okay.
else.
Correct. Yeah. So what I'm
Yeah.
trying to do with you, yeah, is to at least, you know, to begin with, is to dispel this whole idea that it's Jack here
Mm-hmm.
experiencing being.
Mm-hmm.
You must come to know without any doubt it can't be a Jack here experiencing being or seeing,
Mm-hmm.
hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, feeling. It can't
Mm-hmm.
be a Jack. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Jack is a story that we
Mm-hmm.
can remove the backstory, right? Amnesia. If
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
remove that story, it's not like this
Mm-hmm.
body falls off the chair dead.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Yeah.
something remains.
Yeah.
Good. And this something that remains is not dependent upon the story of Jack. To
Mm-hmm.
be, to be
Mm-hmm.
alive, to to being, to conscious awareness, to it's not dependent on the Jack story. Fuck at
Mm-hmm.
all. Yeah. But the Jack story
Mm-hmm.
is what the Jack story claims ownership of this consciousness and awareness and says, calls it mine. It's
Mm-hmm.
mine. I'm
Mm-hmm.
conscious. I'm aware. It's me
Mm-hmm.
that's conscious. It's me that's aware. No, it's not,
Mm-hmm.
because we can
Mm-hmm.
remove Jack.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's
And still
conscious and
here.
what's aware? Not Jack.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand?
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
I think it's
So
such
this,
a
yeah,
subtle hijack at times, isn't it?
perfect.
It's such a sort of like, it's
Perfect.
almost like you don't, or you don't realize it. Suddenly you're like,
We
oh,
don't. We don't until we look.
yeah.
Until we're encouraged to actually hang on a minute. Let's look at this together. What's actually happening? Yeah, which is what we've been doing this whole
Mm-hmm.
time
Mm-hmm.
today. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we're looking at
Mm-hmm.
it as it. I'm not challenging you or confronting you. I'm saying
Mm-hmm.
at every point, I'm saying, let's look at this. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Okay, hang on a minute. Now let's look at that. Yeah, when we look at
Mm-hmm.
it together. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
unravel it.
Mm-hmm.
Unravel it. Yeah, what's
Mm-hmm.
actually happening, as opposed to what I think is happening.
Mm.
You understand?
Mm. It's like the direct experience rather
Yeah,
than
yeah,
the labeled
yeah,
experience.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So and that's why your teachers say, Jack, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that you're looking for, you already are.
Mm.
Okay,
Mm.
that here's, try and grab this, right.
Mm-hmm.
That the Jack story is trying to find, that the Jack story is trying to find an experience, is already here and being experienced.
Mm-hmm.
It's already here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now understand this. Yeah, the Jack story. This should make perfect sense. Okay,
Mm.
the Jack story can't experience consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fucking story. The
Mm-hmm.
fuck? Do you
Mm-hmm.
understand? Yeah, the Jack
Mm-hmm.
story can't see,
Mm-hmm.
hear, taste, touch, smell. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and the story is trying to find this. The
Mm-hmm.
story is trying to experience this.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we is stuck on the path for decades,
Mm-hmm.
years, right? Stuck on the path, yeah? Because the
Mm-hmm.
story's trying to experience this. The story can never experience this. It's not
Mm.
possible for the story to experience this.
Mm-hmm.
It can't. It's a fucking
Mm-hmm.
story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's yeah, that definitely seems a lot clearer even after this session, Terry, for sure.
Yeah, man.
I
No, look,
think it's just
it's
like
all okay. You know, you just need,
noticing it.
yeah, you just, we just need to pick it apart together. That's all.
Yeah.
We just pick
Yeah.
it apart. We just pick it apart, and we work together to pick it
Mm-hmm.
apart. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
Mm-hmm.
ever feel like you're, trying to pull you apart. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
not it.
No.
We've both got to be open enough to go, okay, let's check this out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you're answering honestly, and I'm answering on, and we have a
Mm-hmm.
look. We just,
Yeah.
and I've
Mm-hmm.
looked, so
Yeah.
I already know.
Yeah. Good
I,
luck.
I already know,
Yeah.
which is, in that sense, it makes it easier for me to
Mm-hmm.
guide. Makes it easy
Mm-hmm.
for me to go,
Mm-hmm.
hang on a minute, have you considered this? Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. For
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
No,
It's
Terry,
important.
that's great. I better yeah, I, yeah, I better jump on another call quickly. I'm supposedly working today, but
Okay,
doing my
okay.
best to avoid it. But
What
maybe
are you counselling? Is that what you're doing?
yeah, counselling. So I have placement
Yeah,
as well.
cool.
So yeah, a bit of that and client notes, but then spirituality seems to be the part-time job as well.
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah. Hey,
but I'm
listen. You're okay. Okay, listen.
yeah.
You're okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
we just need to push through this. It's just a little push. It doesn't take
Yeah.
much. If you guide it
No.
properly, it doesn't really
Yeah.
take much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just might need to do it a few times, and
Yeah.
not let
Yeah.
too much time go between, and we just keep.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm heading away this from Saturday for a week, but
Me
in
too.
that probably. Oh, where are you headed?
Me too. I'm heading up to Queensland, and I get back
Oh,
on the 9th, I think 9th of
okay.
March.
Well, that's
Yeah.
perfect. I think that's
I
literally the
think
same day
I
I get
think
back.
I think there might be a couple of days in there somewhere where I'm
Okay.
free, but you'd have to check on my calendar.
All right, Terry. Yeah. Well,
But just have a
I'll
look.
definitely book in.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
cool.
I'll book in and probably for that. Yeah, that post ninth I reckon would suit the best in that week. But
Yeah.
I'll have a look and
Yeah.
yeah, book in another session. But thank you.
Cool.
It's been great to
No
catch up
worries.
again.
You're okay. I don't care what this says.
Yeah,
You're okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You just got to.
yeah,
I know it's your job to challenge that. If you're
yeah,
counselling, I know we challenge that. Yeah. Okay. That's
yeah,
fair enough. That's your job. But when you get to where you are, yeah, at some
yeah,
point you have to start letting
for
go.
sure.
You just have to
Seeing the
start letting.
story for what it is.
Yeah, I'm not encouraging you to go and tell your clients that at this
No,
stage, but you know what I mean.
no. Well, sometimes it seems like they're chasing the tail anyway. So when you
Well,
get too involved in the story,
that is what happens.
yeah,
Is we're trying to step
yeah,
out of the story. That's the only way out of the
yeah,
story is to go to step out of it, not get
for
in there and
sure.
alter it and change the story a little bit.
No,
Good luck
well, I
with
think
that.
that's what I always find even with clients is always when they'll seem to have some sort of insight about their experience. It's all spiritual realizations in a way. It's almost like we don't know it, but
Yeah,
it's whenever their sort of minds quiet down or the story quiets down, they
yeah,
view it from a completely different perspective, and then it's like
yeah.
oh, um, but yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's yeah, good fun nonetheless.
Love you, brother.
Cool, love you too, Terry. See you soon.
Talk to you soon.